Hey, welcome back to the Lightwork series. This video is going to be focused on full moon rituals and just different things you can do to honor the full moon. I posted a story on my Instagram a little while ago, I guess at the last full moon, of a bath that I was taking, just the oils and other things I was putting in the bath, and I got so many questions about what I was doing or people not knowing about full moon rituals but wanting to learn more about them. So I thought I'd make this video to kind of share what I do when the full moon comes and why. So really quickly, just about the full moon in a more scientific sense. So we know that the full moon and the moon in general affects the tides of the ocean, that the moon affects water. Being that humans are made up of mostly water, it is said that the moon and the human being have this type of push and pull relationship as well. So the full moon being at its fullest point in its cycle, the energy that comes forth with that is a lot different than the new moon when it's at its smallest and most hidden cycle. The moon in general represents our emotions and represents the element of water. So honoring the moon is a time to honor our emotions and also just kind of notice the emotions that come up with the full moon in particular. So a lot of the time, the new moon is said to be associated with bringing forth newness into your life, into this next cycle of the moon, so what you want to bring in. And then the full moon a lot of the time is said to be associated with letting go of things you want to leave behind. And I'm more in the way of thinking that because the full moon's energy is at its peak, at its highest point of existence, that the full moon energy can be utilized in amazing ways with setting intentions. So I personally set intentions during the full moon versus setting them during the new moon, which is also a common practice for some people. And when I started doing this full moon intention setting, I actually noticed that the first few cycles, the intention that I did set did come forth into my life within that next cycle. Using the full moon's energy at its highest point really did benefit me. And I mean, some people find it to work differently for them than others. So you might just try to see what works best for you. The way I look at it is because the full moon, or the moon from its cycle increasing into this fullness, is crescendoing up and leveling up this energy, bringing forth this big energy. Why would you immediately cut it off by saying, I'm going to let go of this, this, and this? You could use that energy instead to harness some really great manifesting powers. So the full moon can bring forth a lot of different things energetically and emotionally. So some experience heightened intuition during the full moon, heightened emotions during the full moon, and lots of different things. So also depending on what type of moon there is, because there are different moons as we go through the year, it might bring forth different things depending on where the other planets are in aspect to the moon. The full moon also is just a time for me to honor myself and kind of go inwards and get some self-care, kind of re-cleansing, re-energizing myself from the inside out, and just slowing things down a little bit in terms of what I'm doing and how fast I'm going in my day-to-day life with work, phones, emails, all that stuff. Just like to kind of go inwards, even if it's just for a night of meditation, retreating into a bath, and things like that. A lot of you probably have seen, maybe not this one, I have a different one on my wall that is from 2017, so this is my 2018 moon calendar. This one's a smaller version. My other one for 2017 was a bigger poster version. And so this just goes through the months and it shows you on each cycle of the moon, or of the month, where the moon is in its phase. I like having this, it just helps remind me of where the moon is, so I can look up on my wall and just kind of check in when I see the full moon coming, when the new moon's coming, etc. And I'll put the link in the description box below of where you might be able to find this. I got this in Ojai at this little random gift shop, so I'm not sure if it would be the same, but I'll find something similar or the same for you guys and link it below. You can use apps on your phone. I have a full moon app. I forget the name of it right now, but I'll look and link that below too. Just an app to kind of track the moon, where it is in its cycle, where it is in terms of astrology. So I'll link that below as well. Rituals I do during the full moon, they're different sometimes. Sometimes I do more of one thing, less of another, or I do all of the things or only a couple of the things, just kind of depending on how I'm feeling for that particular cycle. So first thing I'll talk about is my full moon bath. So I take baths all the time. It's not only on the full moon, but it's something I like to do to honor the full moon phase and honor myself in this time, getting extra self-care. And I like doing the bath before I do some of my other rituals because it's just a way to cleanse my energy field and kind of clean off the day, clean off the week, the month, whatever it is, just to kind of release and slow down and find some peace and quiet in my bath before I continue on with meditation and other things. So with the bath, I put a multitude of things in depending on what I have. I ran out of salts, so I don't have anything to like physically show you, but bath salts will be the first thing I put in after I draw the bath. So you can use Epsom salts just from your local drugstore, grocery store. It's just a magnesium form of salt that will help extract yuckiness from the muscles, tension from the body, and help benefit you by bringing more magnesium into your body as well. Himalayan pink salt can be used in the bath. That might be a little pricier. I'm not sure. So I get different salts here and there, so I don't always keep with the consistent same thing every time. I've also used Celtic sea salt as an option when I ran out of other things. I use the salt as a form of purification, cleansing, just kind of overall cleaning the body. Next, I will put in coconut oil a lot of the time just because I have dry skin, so the coconut oil honors my body in the way that it helps repair the skin with more nutrients and nourishment and hydration. And I come out of the bath feeling really moisturized already, so a lot of the time I don't have to put on too much extra lotion and I already feel really nice and hydrated. On top of that, I put some essential oils in the bath. My go-to a lot of the time is lavender because lavender is just really relaxing and healing in that way. You can put tons of different oils, just depending on what I have. I might use something different if that's what's speaking to me, but I would also do your own research to make sure that that oil can be topically applied. If you are putting it in water, it's getting on the skin. So just being mindful of that when you are using different essential oils. Sometimes I use natural bath bomb type things, like just something that is infused with different essential oils. Sometimes I have different bath soaks that have rose petals or lavender pieces in it as well, so that is something that I'll sprinkle into my bath. Just kind of make it a brew of different concoctions of oils, salts, and maybe some dried flowers as well if that's something I have at the time. Of course, candles are really important, so I like to have my space really dimly lit and nice with candles around my bathroom. So the three main crystals I'll bathe with, I'll put crystals in my bath as well, will be rose quartz and clear quartz. I have some different size pieces, so depending on what I'm feeling, I'll just kind of bring a handful of crystals with me, and also amethyst. So these three have just kind of been my go-to. Amethyst for relaxing and kind of help stimulating and balancing the third eye if I want to increase my intuition and heighten it for meditation or tarot or any type of work I'm about to do after the bath. Clear quartz is just an overall balancer and purifier, energy rejuvenator, cleanser. Rose quartz is great for the heart chakra, great for love, just bringing back in a loving energy for the self and of course for others as well. So these three will be okay to go in water. They are safe to go in water where they're not going to start to dissolve too much. And of course, all rocks, all stones, all crystals come from the earth, so they're going to be from a place that has water in it. But certain stones like selenite, for example, over time will start to dissolve a lot quicker with water being around it. So if that's something you're okay with and you want to get more selenite later, you might add selenite into your bath as well. General rule of thumb I found is that stones ending with ite are less friendly with the water than the quartz family and other things like that. Crystal bath, amazing. Totally recommend it if that's something you'd like to do. And I'll lay a lot of the time in my bath with just placing different pieces of crystal along my body, rose quartz going at the heart chakra or wherever I'm called to place them at the time. So after the bath, I dry off, put any body oils on that I want to put on, whether that's sweet almond oil or coconut oil or sesame oil on my skin, or if I'm just using lotion just to kind of rehydrate and use that also as part of my ritual of self-care and self-healing. Then after I'm finished with my bath and finishing that portion of my night or my day, I will then come into my room, have my candles lit, and just kind of set the space up, putting on some relaxing music, and then take part in a type of meditation. So most of the time my full moon meditations are pretty simple. I'll just sit there, quiet down, relax with my breath, start to slow down my breath, and just observe the body, how I'm feeling, taking notice of how my emotions are that day in this exact moment, and just kind of scan through, honoring all of the things that come up. So never judging what comes up, just always being the observer and the witness to what's happening versus expecting my body or my moods, my emotions to be a particular way. One thing I like to do during the day or before I bath also is cleansing my space. So I kind of go back and forth. The reason I like cleansing before is because when I use sage smoke, it's so potent and it also often sticks to my hair, and I don't really like the smell because I smell like a campfire afterwards. I like the smell as it's burning, but not on me later. So sometimes I'll cleanse before I get in the bath. I'll cleanse myself before I get in the bath, but you can also do this after at any point. So this one I haven't burned because I think it's so pretty, and I got it as a gift from my brother at Christmas time, and I don't want to burn it, but I have like a little satchel of sage pieces and bundles that I burn often just in a fire safe bowl, and use that to kind of smudge my room space if I want to cleanse with sage. I also use Palo Santo. I think I ran out, but they're just a wooden stick that comes from a holy tree, and that's also a really great way to cleanse, or incense, whatever you feel called to. After cleansing, bathing, all of that, and setting up my space with candles, with music, I start to get into my meditative state. And then I'll just focus on the breath for the majority of the time. Sometimes if I'm called to meditate with a crystal, I'll hold crystals in either one hand or both, depending on what the crystal is. Certain crystals I'll work with are more for intuitive reasons. So if I'm working with stones like labradorite or moldavite or apophyllite or ulexite, there's a lot of different stones that I personally have gravitated towards to bring forth intuitive information. And because the full moon is a great time to become a little bit more in tune with your intuitive side, that is something I like to work with as well. So if I'm working on a more intuitive meditation, I'll let whatever needs to come forth come in during my meditation, maybe journal afterwards of what insight I gained. Another way to access intuition during the full moon or anytime is working with tarot cards. So a couple that I'll share, the decks that I work with, are the traditional deck, the Rider-Waite tarot deck. So this is said to be the first tarot deck. So I'm not going to get too much into the particular decks and why they're different or how they work for me. I can do a different video on that later if you are curious and want me to do a video on that. So depending on how I feel, what I'm called to work with, I either work with this deck. This is an angel tarot card deck. So the energy of this deck's a little bit different. Just you'll notice if you start to work with different decks why that is, and just kind of what you gravitate towards for different things, different rituals. So the Angel Tarot deck I like a lot as well. This is the Doreen Virtue one. And then I also like to pull an oracle card from this deck. So this is actually the first deck I ever got. It's not a tarot deck, it's different, where this one has different light workers or light beings with little messages that come forth. So oftentimes I'll ask, like, what message do I need to have during this full moon? And I'll pull a card and then read about it in the book and kind of meditate on that. And then a lot of the time I'll place the cards that I pulled at my altar just as a reminder and keeping that energy in my space for a few days. Tarot cards are a great way to access intuition if you have questions or just want an overall sense of what you're releasing or what your intentions are going to bring forth, or whatever the question might be. I'll link below some resources of different tarot spreads that I have used and that you might like to use during the full moon. So after I've meditated, probably after I've done tarot, I will start to formulate the intention that's coming forth, or what I want to manifest and bring forth during this next cycle. So as this comes to me, I will write it on a piece of paper, a small piece of paper, and then I'll have a couple candles out already. So again, in my fire safe bowl, you might choose to do this outside depending on your space. You just want to be really, really safe when you're burning anything. So I have a specific bowl I know is safe to burn things in, so I will use that. And I'll write my intention in the present tense, really simplified but distinct descriptive wording. of what my intention is. So maybe my intention was to manifest more money or bring in abundance. My intention is to manifest abundance in every area of my life, or my intention is to manifest a new job or bring forth new work, whatever it might be. So you write down that on the piece of paper, and it could be a couple of things. I've done a couple of things during this intention setting practice, and just kind of whatever works for you at that particular full moon time. So I will then take the paper, I will say it out loud at least one time, just kind of letting the vibration of my words and my intention go out into our 3D existence. And then as I burn that piece of paper, I will let the entire thing burn. I'll place it into the fire safe bowl and let it completely get burnt by the flame. So once that is finished, I will place the bowl outside underneath the full moon light. So it's said that the full moon energy and light being placed over your intention. Maybe it's windy outside, so that's also an added bonus. It is said to help bring your intention up and out of the bowl and kind of release it into the earth, out into the world. So even if it's not windy outside, I still will burn it, place it in the bowl, let it sit underneath the moon overnight, letting that energy carry out. Next, with my crystals, after I start to wind down meditations, intention setting, all of that, I will place all of my crystals, except for a few, outside to be cleansed underneath the moonlight. So I'll find a place either on my balcony or in the backyard. I'll just find a place where I know that the moonlight will hit it at one point during the night and just let them have a moon bath. Certain stones, you can look this up just to be sure, but there's certain stones that want to be cleansed and charged different ways. So for example, kyanite, blue kyanite, does not need to be cleansed. It is a transmuter and a natural cleanser of itself and other energies. So this is one that I do not put out underneath the moon. I also don't put pyrite underneath the moon, and a couple others. So if you're curious about the stones you have, if you want to make sure that letting it cleanse and charge underneath the moon is most beneficial for that stone, I just do a little quick Google search on that. You can make these rituals as simple or as detailed as you want to. You might journal a lot more one moon cycle or none at all the next. There's so many different ways you can go about this and alter it to what works for you. This is what I've started to enjoy as I've continued to kind of fine-tune my own practices. Start doing what calls to you, and then it might start to change and evolve over time from there. So if you have any questions about this or something pertaining to this area, just leave me a comment below and I'll try to answer as best I can. So in a nutshell, full moon's just a great time to bring forth positivity, manifestation, abundance, love, etc. into your life. And using this time as a time to kind of press pause on all the busyness with work, scheduling, even people like friends, family, and going inwards to check in with the self and just kind of say, hey, how you doing? What do you need? So it's just a nice way, I find, to kind of slow things down and recharge, feel good again in body, mind, and soul, kind of reconnect. I'll also link a couple of sites, primarily Mystic Mama, if you don't already follow her on Instagram. She'll always post a blog post about the full moon and cite other astrologers that have explained what this full moon brings, because each full moon brings particular energies and particular circumstances and things that we're working with and working through. And journal about the particular full moon at that time and what the focus is, and you can use those websites to kind of help you fine-tune your own journaling and meditation practices. Anyways, that's all. I just wanted to share that. I hope this helps in some way, gives you a little bit more insight as to what you can do during the full moon and help just restore the body, mind, spirit, and bring balance back into your life, as well as manifesting awesome things to come forth. So happy practicing, happy winding down, and I will see you next time.